Welcome everyone to the Ontario Caregiver Organization's webinar series. These webinars bring together caregivers and subject matter experts to explore topics of interest to caregivers. We do this to support and engage chosen family, friends, neighbors, really anyone who's providing care to someone else. My name is Katie Muirhead, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the lands that we're on today. While we meet on a virtual platform with people joining us from across the province, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the land we each call home. I'm joining you today from the city of St. Catharines in the Niagara region, which is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendships of Indigenous peoples. If you'd like to learn more about the lands you're joining from, you can find out more at native-land.ca. So today's webinar is called Supporting Your Child's Mental Health Strategies for Caregivers. In recognition of Mental Health Week in May, OCO is excited to welcome Parents Lifeline, or PLEO, for discussion on strategies to support parents of children facing mental health challenges. In today's webinar, we'll explore how to foster open conversations and build trust with your child, the power of asking questions instead of giving into frustration, practical strategies for problem solving together with your child, and tips for taking care of yourself while supporting your child's mental health. And joining us today is Catherine Shea. Catherine is a dedicated caregiver who truly understands the challenges families face when supporting children and youth with mental health struggles. Catherine has a background in social sciences and serves as a family peer supporter with PLEO, offering guidance, empathy, and understanding to parents on similar paths. So welcome, Catherine.
Thank you, Katie, and I'm really happy to be here today representing PLEO. So, as mentioned, this week we are celebrating Mental Health Week, and so thank you for joining us during this Mental Health Week. I'm really excited to join you today and talk about supporting your child and also supporting yourself on your journey with mental health. So, by the end of this session, participants will learn to understand, first of all, understand who PLEO is and how we support parents and caregivers. During the presentation, we will explore effective communication strategies, which include fostering open and honest conversations, the power of asking questions, applying practical strategies for collaborative problem solving, and learn tips for taking care of ourselves too. So, who is PLEO? I'd like to start by sharing a bit more about what we do. We're a nonprofit organization led by parents, and we support other parents and caregivers of children, youth, and young adults who are facing mental health and substance challenges. So, for 25 years now, we've offered evidence-based strategies, reliable information, and a compassionate community to help parents and caregivers feel empowered, connected, and give you hope. 90% of our parents and caregivers who have used our services report feeling better able to cope, better able to support their child, and be better able to accept the services that they need. They also reported feeling less anxious, less stressed, and less isolated. At PLEO, we also offer, we give hope. We give hope that things will be better. We foster collaboration with clinicians. We help strengthen the resilience and skills to caregivers. We share reliable information on behalf of clinical clinicians, any of our partners, for example. And we offer basically three services, one which is our helpline. So parents can call our helpline Monday to Fridays from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. We offer parent support groups, a variety of groups held virtually and on site. And we also have a mobile service where we connect with you in the community. So let's dive a bit deeper into what our focus is. So I'd like to talk a bit about the importance of communication and emotional support in helping your child overcome challenges. Kids often don't open up because they fear that they might be judgment. There might be some disappointment or even punishment. Therefore, I can't emphasize enough the importance of listening, empathizing, and validating. And children, especially teens, really need to feel that they have a voice and that they're heard. So let's start with active listening. It's so important. Listen without judgment and let your child feel heard. Let them know that they do have a voice in this. They may become more open with you. Validate their feelings. I can't emphasize this enough is validate, validate, validate. Validate feelings while, of course, reinforcing some expectations. And acknowledge their emotions while gently reminding them of their responsibility. So, for example, you could say, wow, that sounds really tough. Or I could see how frustrated you are. I could see how frustrated the situation is for you. It's really important to remove any invalidating statements such as, oh, just get over it, or suck it up, it's going to get better. Show empathy and support. Avoid persistent questioning, which can really increase resistance. Be compassionate but firm, setting clear boundaries with kindness. Build trust through open and honest communication. Help build coping strategies. Teach tools such as breathing exercises or role playing, how to manage your anxieties. Be a role model. Avoid common pitfalls. So let's be mindful not to bribe, not to force or shame, as these approaches will backfire. And let's problem solve together. Let's explore some solutions together that makes them part of the decision. It'll make them feel empowered. And we will go into a little bit more of what this framework looks like on the next slide. But I want to emphasize that consistent, compassionate communication can transform how your child perceives challenges, making them feel really safe and supported. And the goal is not to fix the problem. As parents and caregivers, we are fixers, but the goal in the effective communication and the emotional support is not to fix the problem. It's to stay connected with them, build on that relationship. And let's normalize setbacks. Setbacks are part of growth. It's okay. So once they do reach a goal, let's also celebrate it and celebrate the effort, not just the goal. Remember, it's not about us as caregivers, it's about them and their mental health challenges. So I talked a bit about problem solving, and I just want to explore a bit more of what this framework could look like so that you can use it with your child and or your youth. So let's start with defining the problem together. So when a child is struggling, whether it's with school attendance, anxiety, anything else really, the first step is to really get on the same page with them. So rather than assuming that we know what the problem is, ask them, what do they think the problem is? How do they feel that the problem is? That alone will really build the trust and ensures that you're not tackling the right issues together, or that you are tackling the right issues together. Then brainstorm. Once the problem is clear, once you have a good understanding or you have a shared understanding of what that problem is, brainstorm. Brainstorm on some solutions together. Because and keep in mind that any comment, any question, any option is possible. So at this stage, I really encourage creativity. Let's be mindful that all ideas are welcome and refrain from any judgment. This will really open up communication and help the child feel safe, help the child feel heard. Then what you can do is just choose one small step to try. Let's start with baby steps. So big problems could feel really overwhelming, especially when they're really struggling with mental health. Let's take one little problem and see how we could help address that one problem. So instead of aiming for a complete fix, an all-in-one fix, let's choose that little step to try. And this will really keep things achievable and will reduce any pressure on not only us as caregivers, but also on the child. Make them part of the decision, make them feel empowered. Let them decide which step to take, of course, within boundaries, but this will really give them a sense of ownership and control, which is especially important when anxiety or distress makes life feel totally out of control. Give them a bit of that control and avoid the step after trying the step, check in. So after trying all of this, reflect on what worked well and what didn't work so well. What helped? What was hard? What did you find difficult? And I encourage during this stage to really ask open-ended questions such as what and how. We'll explore those on the next slide in terms of open-ended questions, but what and how, to me, I find those very powerful questions. They typically will allow the teen to allow your youth to communicate more effectively with you and adjust any of these problem-solving skills, any of the solutions, adjust as you go, adjust as you both learn. And this approach will really help allow the teen to be in control, allow the child to be in control, and avoid any blame and discouragement. So I talked a bit about open-ended questions. So asking questions is such a powerful tool, and it really helps more than lecturing. I like to apply the motto, be curious and not furious. And the curious approach really opens doors. This is a really critical approach that could really help them open up more to you. So for example, rather than saying, why are you always like this? Which can really sound like you're accusing them. Try something like, I'd like to understand better what's going on for you. And that offers more compassion. It's a way to show your child that they are not the problem to be corrected, but they are a person that you want to try to understand. And again, start small to build trust. Trust is not built in a single conversation. Start with simple things. Talk as you walk, share a quiet moment together, or ask a light question. Personally, I find that driving in the car is really impactful for me. It's not face to face. When my daughter is sitting in the back seat, it's a less threatening environment. It's not confrontational. We're not looking at each other. We're not making eye contact. And that alone could really help with the trust. And little by little, your child will see that it's safe and they will confide in you. Avoid correction questions too early. So when a young person opens up, it's not the time to correct or advise them right away. You'll just shut them down. So even if it's tempting to say, you should have just done this, or come on, it's not that bad. Save that for later. At first, you just want to listen, understand, empathize, and validate. Get curious. Tell me more about that. Silence can be uncomfortable at times, but it's really important to have that silence. Let the silence do some of the work. After questioning, give your child time to reflect. Give your child time to think about what's going on. And don't fill the silence too quickly. It shows them that you're really willing to wait and really listen, actively listen. We talked about empowerment. So empower with choice-driven questions. Young people who are experiencing mental health difficulties often feel powerless. And so by giving them simple choices, we give them back some control. So for example, you could say, would you rather we talk about it now or after dinner? Or when would it work for you? When's a good time for you to talk? When works for you? Do you want me to be here or do you want to tell someone else about it? Help them name that feeling. Putting words to what they're feeling really helps manage it better. Sometimes young people don't know if they're sad, they don't know if they're angry, they don't know if they're anxious. They have difficulty in naming what that feeling is. So you can say, does this sound more like you're angry? Or does this sound more like you're scared? And sometimes for smaller children, using images, colors sometimes, maps of emotions can sometimes really help, especially for the younger ones. And then use open-ended questions that allows one to express themselves more freely. So for example, how do you feel when you're at school? What is stressing you out on this day? So avoid the close-ended questions, which typically give you a yes or no. And as it typically gives you a yes, no answer. So we want to open the door for real discussion. So on the next slide, I'm going to explore this a little more. So here, what I've done on the left-hand side is a yes, no question. And on the right side, I've given open-ended questions. And so again, the open-ended questions really help to draw out information that your teen may not typically want to share with you, or they just don't feel like talking. So by asking the open-ended questions, for example, what was the best part of your day today? Rather than saying, did you have a good day? They'll say yes, no. If you say, what was the best part of your day today? You'll draw a bit more information out of them. Rather than saying, are you okay? You can say, how do you feel right now? How are you feeling? Rather than saying, did you finish your homework? You could say, what are you working on for school right now? Another example is, do you want help? You can say, how can I help you? How can I help you is one sentence that I use a lot with my family. And it's sometimes a child may say, you can't, just leave me alone, back off. Then you just respect that, but you try again later on. Coping with parental guilt and frustration. So questioning why this is happening and what you can have done differently is normal. We often feel that we have somehow failed as a parent. We all raise our children and we make decisions to the best of our ability and knowledge, but that guilt feeling is often there. So some strategies around this would be, first of all, let's avoid walking on eggshells. We can sometimes be afraid to talk to our child openly about what is really happening and what they're experiencing. We hesitate to share our feelings and our thoughts. And on that note, I often say to my daughter, I'm scared. I'm nervous, and it's okay. And as mentioned already, those open-ended discussions can really be beneficial for everyone. So apply some of that communication skills that I referenced earlier, which may invite your child to want to talk. Acknowledge your feelings. Guilt and stress are normal responses. You're not alone in feeling this way. Try to separate the guilt from the responsibility as a parent and caregiver. You're not to blame for your child's mental health challenges. While you may be accountable for guiding and supporting your child, you're not to blame for every challenge your child faces. Responsibility is about making thoughtful choices and learning from our mistakes, whereas guilt often stems from unrealistic expectations of perfections. Shifting the focus to growth and understanding instead of blaming can really help maintain a healthier perspective for ourselves. Challenge self-critical thoughts. So you could replace I should have with I'm doing my best with what I know. I'm doing my best with the tools that I have. And practice radical acceptance to manage strong emotions. And radical acceptance is a concept of dialectical behavioral therapy. And DBT, which is the acronym for dialectical behavioral therapy, really helps us manage strong emotions. So it's about mindfulness and emotional regulation that encourages accepting, acknowledging that the current situation or person without judgment or resistance. And even if it's not what you would ideally like it to be, it is what it is at this point in time, and it may not always be this way. So, for example, let's say your teenager is not interested in school and you wish that they were motivated to go. So, radical acceptance means acknowledging that this is reality right now. And so, rather than fighting against it or blaming or criticizing or judging them for it, it is what it is at this point in time. It may not always be this way. And a key benefit for radical acceptance is to reduce our emotional turmoil and establishing more effective communication with our teen, which can lead to opportunities, it can lead to healthier relationships, and potentially lead to positive change. I like to practice radical acceptance. Um, Through radical acceptance, I do feel that parents can create a safe space for their loved ones to express themselves and their feelings, including any underlying issues that may be causing the lack of motivation. It can also create a more open and non-confrontational atmosphere where the parent and teenager can discuss issues and potential solutions more effectively. So another strategy is to focus on what you can control. So small, consistent steps are powerful. Let go of things that are beyond our control. Seek support. So talk to parents, talk to other caregivers. Don't hesitate to reach out for help. So, as mentioned earlier, Pleo, for example, we offer parent support groups, we offer a parent helpline, and you can connect with others who are facing similar challenges and know that you're not alone. Set realistic expectations that some days are survival days, and that's okay. There are days when just getting up, feeding everyone, and getting to the end of the day, that's already huge, and that's okay. So give yourself permission to have those minimum days. Resilience isn't perfection, it's endurance. And maintain and create and maintain boundaries. Allow time to care, but don't let it consume your every move. Don't let it consume your every thought. And take a mental health break. Even if it's just 5 minutes of calm, you'll find that helpful. A moment's break, even a short one, can make all the difference. Could be just close your eyes, take a deep breath, sit in silence. It's a mental break, and it just brings the calm back into your day-to-day life. We talked about validation earlier. It's really important. We talked about validating your youth, validating your loved one. Validate your own feelings. Guilt, grief, frustration, hope, they can all coexist together. And you may feel your child deeply. You may love your child deeply and be totally exhausted. You can hold on to the hope and feel sorrow. They coexist. All of this can coexist together, and your emotions are valid. There's no right way to feel. It's okay. Be kind to yourself and prioritize self-care. So taking care of your own well-being, it's not selfish. It helps you stay emotionally strong and better able to support your child. And your well-being supports your child's well-being. And tips will be presented on this next slide. So let's go to the next slide here. So general self-care practices are really important to stay emotionally and physically resilient. And the goal is to help you sustain your own energy and avoid burnout. So prioritize rest and nutrition could be one example. Recharge your body so you can support your loved one more effectively. Stay connected, maintain your friendships, maintain your social supports that bring you joy. Engage in something that's just for you, whether it's a hobby, a walk, music, or journaling. Just engage in something that's for you and where you can find some joy. Practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. So, deep breathing, meditation, or any grounding exercise can really help reduce any stress and anxiety. And know your limits. It's okay to say no or ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do it alone. And again, celebrate the small wins. Not only to celebrate the small wins for your loved one, but celebrate your small wins. Acknowledge your efforts and your resilience. And remember that you're not alone. So taking care of yourself gives you the resilience to continue being the steady support that your child needs. So, in summary, I just want to recap the four main key themes that we covered today. So, one, open conversation builds trust. Number two, questions work better than frustration. Ask those open-ended questions and not the yes no answers. Collaborate to problem solve together. Have your youth, your child, your loved one feel empowered and take care of you too. Encourage continued connected and support. It's a strength, it's not a weakness. So that wraps up my part of the presentation. And know that we've been there, I've been there, I get it, and we can help you.
So it is time for our Q&A. Thank you again, Catherine. That was really great, very thorough. Lots of fabulous tips that have come through. I really liked the slide about the power of asking questions. I think that this is maybe not something that comes naturally to a lot of us, and I'm certainly one of those people. I think about conversations that I've tried to have with the teenagers and young people in my life. And so I'm wondering if you have any tips for folks where maybe they're recognizing that this is a skill that they want to develop and they want to be better at, but they're really struggling to get there. You gave some really nice examples, but I'm wondering if you can expand a little on that. If there's any tips for folks that are new to this and trying to shift and learn this new behavior of asking questions.
One tip that I would really encourage is I use the acronym OARS, OARS, which is easy to remember. And so O is asking open-ended questions. And by asking those open-ended questions, you would typically draw more information out of your youth that they may typically want to share. And so I just remember what and how. Those are two very powerful words, what and how. And when you're asking those open-ended questions, be really calm, pause. If things are emotional, if there's strong emotions going on, none of this is going to work. And so it's really important to ask those questions in a calm environment. And so ours would be open-ended questions. A is affirmation. And so when you're speaking with your loved one, you can say, tell me more about what's going on. Be curious. Be curious, not furious. What got in the way today? What are you going to do with your day today? How can I help? And then let the conversation take place. A would be affirmation. So affirm using you statements. Make them feel like they're being heard. Make them feel that you hear what they're saying. Affirm any positive change in the behavior, for example. And then R would be reflective listening. So reflect on what they're saying to you. And then S would be summarizing. The reflection, you can reflect back to them what they're saying so that there's no room for misinterpretation. And then the S would be summary. So summarizing the conversation so you're both on the same page, you hear and understand the same things.
It's a great breakdown of that acronym. I feel like I've heard some version of that in the past before with some other work. Is there does Pleo offer any resources on this that can be shared out with families?
We do. So we apply a lot of these skill sets through our helpline, for example. We're not a crisis line, we are a helpline. And so when a parent caregiver calls in, we can share some of these strategies with them. We will follow up with an email and could share some of those resources too. And then it's also tools that we apply during our support groups, where we can offer some of those resources as well. We
That's
also have
great.
a
So,
book nook on our website, and so we can find more information at pleo.on.ca.
that's great. And so we'll make sure folks get access to this recording and the slides and any of these resources that we're sharing. I think sometimes those acronyms are great reminders for folks to keep. I know I'm a post-it note person and I have these all over the place. So sometimes just having that visual reminder is a great prompt for folks. And it sounds like you can even focus on some of those individual elements of that acronym if you're really trying to build out your skills. Maybe you're really great at, reframing to a question, but the timing of when that question is posed is tricky. We
It
often
definitely
have
takes a
really,
lot of patience,
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
patience.
Uh-huh. We have busy lives, right? There's a lot going on, especially if we're supporting multiple kids in the home and jobs and complex caregiving responsibilities, or hopefully our own personal lives as well. So yeah, it does. It seems like something that really does take a lot of practice.
Mhm.
Would you recommend utilizing these strategies for, everyday conversations as well as a way to practice some of these skills?
Absolutely. You don't have to just use these tools with your children or loved ones. You can use them with friendships, you can use them with families, and it's just asking those open-ended questions. To me, it's just such a powerful tool because you get more information out of it. I even find myself using them with my husband, you know.
Great tips for your
How was your
spousal
day?
conversation.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do with your day today? What worked
Yeah,
well? What didn't work so well?
yeah,
Just
that's
in
great.
everyday practices. Coworkers.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great because I do find, we get these really lovely strategies that you've provided, but then the application of them can sometimes be tricky, especially when these are a bit of behavior change for ourselves,
Mhm.
right? We might be more accustomed. Maybe we have an older child that we didn't have any of these challenges with, and we were able to kind of do, what we've always known and do naturally, which doesn't involve asking questions. But then our second or third child or somebody else in our relationship has some of these challenges where we have to shift our approach a little bit. And that's not always easy for folks when you're accustomed to communicating a certain way.
And as a parent, what I have trained myself to do is to remove why from my vocabulary and remove should from my vocabulary. So instead of saying, why did you do that? I would get curious. Tell me more about what was going on there. Or rather than say, you should have done it this way, because of course, as parents and caregivers, we're fixers. We want to fix things. And so rather than saying, well, you should have done it this way, I would engage with my child and say, what could you have done differently? How could you have done this differently? And that
Yeah.
way it encourages them to think it through. It offers them some of that control and it empowers them and makes them accountable for it. So a small example could be, rather than saying, why didn't you brush your teeth? What prevented you from brushing your teeth? And you dissect that, and you may get a bit more information out of them than you may not typically get. So, for example, what prevented you from brushing your teeth? And then you can do that collaborative problem solving together. How did you feel about the toothpaste? How did you feel about the sensation of the toothbrush? And it typically offers you typically gain more insight onto the solution. You could say, okay, so you don't like the toothpaste, you don't like the toothbrush. Why don't we try a different flavor? What do you think? That's
I
just a
think
small
that's
example.
no, but I think that's a really great example of something that is hopefully a daily activity for everyone on the call today. And what I like about that is sometimes I think, and I'm guilty of this, of walking into a challenging situation with my own set of assumptions, right? So using your toothbrushing example, they just don't feel, they're just being difficult, or they're just being lazy, or they don't want to. But by posing this in a form of a question and being more curious about why this is happening might really unveil, some deeper, different reasons that you hadn't considered before. So maybe there is an issue with the texture of the toothpaste, and that's the preventative issue. Or maybe there's a problem with their teeth or their gums, or they're in pain and they're
Right.
just not communicating it. So obviously, this is a really fundamental and basic example, but when we think about more complex situations, about dynamics at school or with siblings or with parents, or, different challenges, emotional challenges that youth are facing, this is a really nice approach to maybe walk around the assumptions we're walking into the conversation with and really get to maybe some underlying reasons of why these more challenging situations are happening that we just
Right.
wouldn't know about if we didn't frame it in a different way.
Right. Another one that I like to use also is, letting go of some of that control, and especially teenagers that, once they reach 13, even younger now, is they want a bit of control. So rather than mom or dad or their caregiver telling them what to do and how to do it, ask them, right? So ask them for some of their solutions. So for example, can you put the dishes away? And then they don't want to be told to put the dishes away. So a different approach might be, hey, the dishes need to be put away between 7 and 9 o'clock tonight. What's a good time for you to get to that? And then that allows them to have a bit of control that they're deciding when to do it. Again, within parameters and still meeting your expectations that they need to get done.
Yeah. In the behavior world, we call that forced choice. So
Yes,
we're providing a choice, but it's really created under our own parameters. And sometimes that can be a really nice, to your point, opportunity for people to feel like they're in control of the things that they have to do. But ultimately, everybody wins in the end. So that's a
right,
really great strategy
right.
as well. Thinking about, I mean, my mind goes to teenagers when we talk about this topic. Certainly, younger people can be experiencing different emotional challenges, mental health issues. But I find in my personal life, teenagers can be tricky, and are sometimes that hard nut to crack in terms of opening up and being really open to share their feelings and their experiences and what's going on with them. And you did talk a little bit about open-ended questions earlier. Um, so we did have a question that came in privately about like how to get your child to open up and talk a little bit more. So every time I try to engage, they just feel a bit embarrassed. Or that's the perception that we have, is that they're feeling embarrassed and they're not responding to those questions. So do you have any thoughts on strategies that parents or adults or people engaging in this could try when they're trying to really help that young person in their life know, like, this isn't a judgment or a criticism. I'm really trying to understand. I'm not trying to make you embarrassed. It's awkward, particularly with teens talking about personal issues and different relationship dynamics. Do you have any thoughts on that, and how we might be able to, persist to a point where it's helpful and supportive for everybody involved? Trying to get those youth to
Yes.
really open up more.
Yeah, so I think by starting small is to really validate the child's feelings. So if they say, I don't want to talk about it right now, say, wow, I get that this is a hard subject for you to discuss. Okay. And then you can try later on. And so I think just having that respecting those boundaries is really important. Validate, 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 empathize and listen attentively and remove any invalidation, any invalidating statements like, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. Or come on, what's getting in the way if you tell me this, right? That it's invalidating and to build that trust, making them feel comfortable would be the first step I would strongly suggest is empathize. Empathize, validate. I get this is tough for you. And pause. Silence is okay. I get that this is really hard for you right now. I
Mhm.
see you're having a really hard time talking about this right now. And it's
Mhm.
okay. And just keep practicing that or keep doing that over time.
Right.
I've
Do you
been in
find,
those tough situations with my daughter as well. I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. Back off. Leave me alone.
yeah.
Okay. And then I'll try again later.
Do you have suggestions on, like, I know it's not really prescriptive, but do you have suggestions on sort of how much time to let that breathe and how much time you give in between, your first attempt or your second attempt, so you got that response from your child. It's like, I'm fine, leave me alone. Door closes, into the darkness they go. And then when would you suggest that folks, try to revisit that or approach
Well,
that conversation again?
I think it depends on the dynamic. I don't think there's one magical answer, and I don't think it's a one answer fits all. I think it depends on the individual. I think it depends on your relationship. What I find very effective for me is when I'm driving in the car. It's not confrontational. If my daughter's in the back seat, I'm in the front seat, or even if she's sitting next to me, maybe you're driving through a drive-through grabbing a milkshake, in a non-threatening environment. Maybe you're playing a board game together. Maybe you're swinging on the swings. And so it's, hey, like it might be an opportunity to say, hey, like, can we just chat a bit about that situation? Or again, wow, I get that it was really hard for you to talk about that. So sometimes it's in very neutral, has to be on neutral grounds, and maybe you remove yourself from your environment, from your regular environment, go for a drive, go for a walk, do
Mhm,
something fun.
mhm. Yeah, no, those are great tips. I find the car driving a good approach as well. And I know some of my colleagues and friends have also taken that approach and have seen it beneficial. But I do like that, finding sort of a neutral space where we're not in the heat of the moment. Perhaps the child's come home from school or from being out with friends, and you can see there's something visibly wrong. That may not be the time when they're ready to talk it through, and approaching it from more of a neutral space may be where you
Hmm.
get a little bit more out of them.
Hmm. Playing
Mhm.
board games is often, personally, I find that effective as well if you're just playing a board game.
Yeah, great tips. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts in terms of how you've, within your peer support role at Pleo and supporting families through some of these challenges. Have you ever encountered scenarios where families are really worried about the mental health and well-being of their kids and are really not sure how to approach that specifically? So, I think we're talking really broadly today about moods and feelings and just the broad strokes of the conversation. But if there are families or folks on the call today who are, maybe joining because they are noticing some changes in their kids or the youth around them, their siblings, and how they're approaching the world, and there's some concerns about their mental health and well-being. Do you have any thoughts on, from a parent to parent, on how to maybe approach those types of conversations or strategies and things to think about if you're just starting out in this supportive space?
I would start number one. You do want to ensure that there are no physical or clinical issues going on, right? And so I feel that by starting with a family doctor, a pediatrician, or some kind of clinical support, would be paramount is to rule out any physical ailments that might be going on there. So that I think would be the first step is to just find out what is going on and then reach out for some supports and so perhaps you can if they're school age you could speak with the school, find out, are these behaviors happening at school, are they just happening at home, what is going on, and reach out to the school, um, clinical school, talk to other families, talk to other parents, talk to your support network, talk to your talk to your own in your own social networks, for example, because maybe, is it my 10-year-old that's just behaving like a 10-year-old boy,
Yeah.
or are there truly something else going on? And then reach out for some mental health support also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts in terms of how to approach that conversation with that child?
Yeah.
So if you're noticing they're more withdrawn or they're spending more time alone, not going out with friends, and you might be worried about some mental health issues, would you suggest sort of utilizing these strategies that you shared today to start that
Mhm.
discussion? Are there other approaches you might take in that scenario as well?
Yeah, I think by asking those open-ended questions, empathizing, validating is huge. By saying something like, I'm noticing that you're not leaving your room,
Mhm.
is how can I help you? Is there anything I can help you with? Tell me a bit about what's going on. Um, and again, it's building that trust. Trust is first and foremost by being present, reminding them, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm here to help you. I think just, those regular parenting things that we typically do, reminding them that you're here to support them. But then if they're not, if you do, sometimes we just have to go with our gut feeling. Parents, we do have that gut feeling and go with that gut feeling. And if you feel that your child is, your youth is not okay, then reach out, get the clinical help, get the supports that you need.
Great, great tips. Thank you so much. Just as we're nearing the end, and put a little call out to folks, if anyone does have any additional questions or things they'd like to share, please feel free to put that in the chat box. We've got another couple minutes here with Catherine and all of her wisdom. I'm wondering, Catherine, can you tell us a little bit more about Pleo and the work that's done at Pleo, and how, you mentioned you're a peer supporter there. Are there other resources and tools through Pleo that people might be interested in accessing?
Yes, so we do have virtual support groups. And we also have live in-person support groups. So, for example, every Wednesday evening online is for parents or caregivers of children between 13 and 25. And it's an opportunity to connect with other parents and share experiences. Listen, perhaps you have some tips and tricks to offer, or learn from others as well. And so that would be Wednesday evenings, and then every second Tuesday, we have it for parents of children between 0 and 12. We also have groups on for parents whose children are experiencing suicidal ideation. Those are online as well, virtual. And we also have a journaling workshop that's going on right now. Some of them are essentially drop-ins, but some of them you do have to register for. Then we have our helpline, which is open Monday to Fridays from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. And it's an opportunity for a parent, if a parent is just really struggling, having a bad day, having a good day, and they just want to talk to another parent who has a lived experience, who has some training, and just share with them some of the challenges. we will listen. We will help you. We will give you hope that it's okay. It will be okay. And then we have more of a mobile team, which is really for those who have some really intense needs, where we will meet you in your community. We will go out, meet you within whether it's at the local Starbucks, local Tim Hortons, wherever you want to meet, we will be there for you and walk the journey with you. We are also in the Ottawa area. We are physically on site in a number of different locations. So, for example, we have Youth Services Bureau. We are on site there. We have Britannia Woods. We're on site there. We're in a number of the youth hubs in rural Eastern Ontario. And so we're out and about. We work with a number of partners. One specific to Ottawa would be One Call, One Click, where it is a centralized intake. And if parents call for their children, children, there are supports for children. Sometimes parents feel like we're alone in this journey. And that's why we're there, is to help you on your journey. And we will walk with you. It's not just one call. We will be there for you, with you throughout your journey with your loved one. We also offer smart recovery programs. So we deal with substance use and addictions. And so every Thursday, we do offer a smart recovery program for parents or caregivers of youth struggling with addictions.
Wow, that's great. That's really helpful to know. And Marnie's put the link to your website in the chat for folks that want to learn more about all that great work that Pleo is doing. It's so nice to know that there is a resource and supports available to all these families across Ontario, and some in-person stuff throughout Ottawa, to support families in this really challenging space. It is really difficult to navigate when you've got, young people growing up and they're really struggling with their own mental health or addictions needs. And so this is a wonderful resource. I want to thank you for sharing more about that. I think it's helpful for people to know what other resources are available. I'm not seeing any more questions through our chat box. So I do just want to take a moment again to thank you, Catherine, for your time today, for all of your knowledge and wisdom, as a peer supporter through Pleo, but also your lived experience as well. It's always so helpful to hear from people who have lived this and experienced this and sharing their wisdom and knowledge. So thank you so much for being here today, Catherine, and thanks to everyone else who's joined the call. We appreciate you taking time out of what is usually a very busy day for folks. So thanks again.